Don't ignore these pennies in your change, because one small detail could turn it into a life-changing discovery. Most people spend this coin without a second thought, but collectors are desperately searching for it. If you have this coin sitting in your pocket change right now, you might be holding something that could completely change your life in a way you would never expect. Most people walk past it every single day without a second glance, tossing it into jars, drawers, or even leaving it on the ground without realizing that this tiny copper piece could be worth far more than its face value. Today, we are diving deep into the story of the 2007 1-cent penny, a coin that looks completely ordinary at first glance, but has captured the attention of collectors, experts, and treasure hunters around the world because of its hidden value, rare variations, and surprising demand in the collector's market. To understand why this small coin has gained so much attention, we need to go back and look at what the penny represents in American currency. The 1-cent coin, commonly known as the penny, has been part of circulation for more than 2 centuries. It has gone through multiple design changes, metal composition adjustments, and production updates, all reflecting the economic and historical shifts of the United States. By 2007, the penny had already undergone a major transformation just a few years earlier in 1982 when the composition shifted from mostly copper to a primarily zinc core with a thin copper coating. This change alone created several variations in pennies that collectors still study today, and 2007 sits right in the middle of a modern era where minting errors, variations, and rare production anomalies began gaining more attention than ever before. Now imagine the United States Mint in 2007, producing billions of pennies to keep up with everyday transactions. Machines were running at extremely high speed, striking coins in massive quantities. But in such a fast-paced environment, mistakes are inevitable. And in the world of coin collecting, mistakes are not just errors, they are opportunities. These errors are exactly what can turn a simple 1-cent coin into something worth hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of dollars. The 2007 1-cent penny carries the portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, a design that has been used since 1909. The reverse side features the Lincoln Memorial, a design that was used until 2008 before the U.S. Mint changed the reverse design again for the bicentennial commemorative series. This makes the 2007 penny one of the final years of the classic Lincoln Memorial reverse design, which already gives it a small layer of historical significance for collectors who focus on design transitions and end-of-era coins. But what truly makes people excited is not just the design, it is what can go wrong during production. Some 2007 pennies were struck with misalignments, doubling effects, off-center strikes, and even rare planchet variations where the metal blank used was not standard. There are also reports of strike-through errors where foreign material gets between the die and the coin during minting, leaving unusual marks that make the coin unique. These imperfections are exactly what collectors search for, because in the world of numismatics, perfection is common, but imperfection is rare. If you have this coin, you might want to look closely at it right now. Because something as simple as a slight doubling in the text, an unusual shine, a missing detail, or a strange weight difference could completely change its identity. Most people will never notice these details, but collectors will immediately recognize them as potential signs of rarity. And this is where things start to become exciting. The value of a coin is not determined by how old it is alone. It is determined by rarity, condition, demand, and historical significance. A 2007 penny in normal condition is still worth just 1 cent. But a rare error version in pristine condition can become a completely different story. Some collectors are willing to pay huge amounts for unique variations that are difficult to find in circulation. In some cases, competitive bidding between collectors can drive prices far beyond expectations, especially when a coin is certified and graded by professional services. If you are thinking, it's just a penny, how valuable can it really be? Then you are exactly the kind of person who might overlook something important. Because history has shown that some of the most valuable coins ever discovered were originally found in everyday pocket change. Coins that looked completely normal at first ended up being worth life-changing amounts simply because someone took a closer look. The 2007 penny also exists in different mint marks, mainly produced in Philadelphia and Denver. These mint marks, although small, play a huge role in collecting. Sometimes a specific mint location produces fewer error coins, making those variations even more valuable. Even the slightest difference between coins from different mints can matter a lot when it comes to rarity evaluation. Another fascinating aspect is the condition grading system used by professionals. A coin that has never been circulated, known as mint state, can be significantly more valuable than one that has been used in everyday transactions. Even a small scratch or discoloration can affect its grade and therefore its value. This is why collectors often preserve coins in protective holders, ensuring they maintain their original condition for years. But here is where the story becomes even more interesting. Some rare versions of the 2007 penny have been associated with auction sales that reached unexpectedly high numbers due to competitive collector interest. While not every coin reaches extreme values, certain verified error coins have been known to attract serious attention. And this is why experts always encourage people to check their change carefully, because the difference between a normal coin and a rare one is sometimes invisible at first glance. Now, imagine holding a coin in your hand that most people would ignore, but that a collector somewhere in the world is actively searching for. That is the hidden power of numismatics. It turns everyday objects into historical artifacts with real financial potential. And the 2007 1-cent penny is one of those coins that continues to surprise people even today. If you have this coin, you are already one step closer to discovering whether you are holding something ordinary or something extraordinary. Because the truth is, most valuable coins are not found in museums or collections at first. They are found in places like coin jars, old drawers, and forgotten piggy banks. And just when you think you understand everything about this coin, there is still more to uncover. The deeper we go, the more details emerge about rare die variations, collector demand trends, and specific characteristics that can push the value of a simple penny into surprising territory. In the next part, we will go even deeper into the hidden error types, the exact features collectors look for, and how a small detail on a 2007 penny could potentially turn it into one of the most sought-after modern coins in circulation today. If you have a 1963 1-cent penny in your hand right now, you might be looking at something far more interesting than just a small piece of copper-colored metal. Because most people see it as nothing more than pocket change, something ordinary, something almost invisible in daily life. But in the world of coin collectors, even the smallest details on a coin like this can tell a powerful story, and sometimes that story can turn a simple penny into something people start searching for seriously. The 1963 Lincoln penny was minted in Denver, as shown by the small D mark under the date on the front side of the coin. This was during a time when the United States was producing billions of pennies every year to keep up with a growing economy and heavy circulation demand. The coin carries the classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, a design originally created in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of his birth. On the back, it features the Lincoln Memorial, a design that had already become iconic by the early 1960s. At first glance, there is nothing special that makes this coin stand out. It looks like every other penny from that era. It was made mostly of copper, giving it that familiar reddish-brown tone that many older pennies naturally develop over time. Millions upon millions were produced, and most of them entered circulation immediately, passing from hand to hand without anyone ever thinking they might be important one day. But here is where things get interesting. Even though the 1963 penny is not considered extremely rare in general, it becomes a completely different story when condition, minting quality, and unusual variations are taken into account. Because in coin collecting, rarity is not always about how few coins were made, but how few survived in perfect or unusual condition. If you have a 1963 penny, the first thing collectors would want to know is its condition. Is it heavily worn from circulation, or does it still have sharp details on Lincoln's face and the steps of the memorial? Coins that were never used in everyday transactions, known as mint state coins, are far more desirable. A penny that has been sitting untouched for decades, maintaining its original shine, can attract serious attention from collectors who specialize in high-grade Lincoln cents. Then there is the possibility of mint errors. Even though most 1963 pennies were produced under strict quality control, no minting process is perfect. Sometimes coins come out with small but important mistakes. These can include double die errors, where parts of the design appear slightly doubled due to misalignment during striking. There can also be off-center strikes, where the design is not properly centered on the coin blank. In some cases, you might even find weak strikes where certain details appear faint or incomplete because the coin was not fully pressed. Now imagine holding a coin like that without even realizing it. Something that looks normal at first glance, but actually carries a hidden flaw that makes it special in the eyes of collectors. This is exactly why coin experts always tell people not to overlook old pennies, because what looks ordinary might actually be something rare in disguise. Another important factor is the metal composition and natural aging process. Since the 1963 penny is made mostly of copper, over time it develops different shades and tones depending on how it was stored. Some coins turn deep brown, while others maintain a red or reddish-orange color. Interestingly, collectors often value red, copper pennies more highly because they indicate a better preserved surface and less environmental damage over time. If you have this coin sitting somewhere, you might want to take a closer look at the edges, the lettering, and Lincoln's portrait. Small details matter a lot. Even minor differences in strike quality can separate a common coin from a collectible one. And this is where many people get surprised, because what they thought was just an old penny suddenly becomes something worth paying attention to. There have been cases in the coin collecting world where 1963 Lincoln pennies in exceptional condition, or with rare error characteristics, have sold for surprisingly high amounts compared to their face value. While not every coin reaches extreme numbers, the combination of high grade, strong eye appeal, and rarity in condition can push certain examples into the spotlight during competitive collector sales. When multiple collectors want the same coin, the value can rise quickly due to demand. And this is where the excitement builds. Because the truth is, coins like this are still out there. They are still sitting in jars, old collections, inherited boxes, and forgotten drawers. They are still passing unnoticed through everyday hands. And that means there is always a chance, however small, that someone might come across a version that stands out from the rest. If you have this coin, imagine the possibility that what you're holding is not just a piece of history, but a piece that someone else might actively be searching for. That is what makes coin collecting so fascinating. It turns everyday objects into hidden treasures waiting to be discovered. And just when you think there is nothing more to know about a simple penny like the 1963, the deeper you go into its variations, minting details, and collector demand, the more you realize that even the smallest coin can carry a surprising level of mystery and value. Because in the end, it is never just about the coin itself. It is about what people are willing to pay for rarity, condition, and history combined into one small piece of metal that most people would never think twice about. If you have a 1991-cent penny sitting in your pocket, wallet, or even an old jar at home, you might want to take a much closer look at it, because what seems like one of the most common coins in modern circulation could actually hold a hidden story that most people completely ignore. Every single day, millions of these pennies pass through hands without a second thought, yet a few rare variations, unusual errors, and high-grade examples have quietly attracted the attention of collectors who know exactly what to look for. The 1990 Lincoln penny was minted during a time when the United States was producing enormous quantities of small change to support everyday transactions. Inflation had changed the way money moved, and coins like the penny were still essential in daily commerce. The United States Mint produced these coins in massive numbers, especially from the Philadelphia and Denver mints. You may notice a small letter under the date on the coin, either a P for Philadelphia or a D for Denver. That tiny detail is the first clue collectors use to identify where your coin came from. On the front of the coin, you will see the familiar face of Abraham Lincoln, one of the most iconic designs in American coin history. This portrait, first introduced in 1909, has remained a symbol of stability and tradition for over a century. On the back of the 1990 penny, you will find the Lincoln Memorial, a design that was used from 1959 until 2008. If you look closely at the memorial, you can even see a tiny representation of the seated Lincoln statue inside it, a detail that surprises many people when they first notice it. At first glance, the 1990 penny appears completely ordinary. It is made primarily of zinc with a thin copper coating, giving it the classic copper color that most modern pennies have. But what makes this coin interesting is not its appearance alone. It is the small percentage of coins that were struck with errors or preserved in exceptional condition that catch the attention of collectors around the world. If you have this coin, the first thing to understand is that condition matters more than almost anything else. A 1990 penny that has been heavily circulated, scratched, or damaged is usually worth only its face value. But a coin that has never been used in circulation, known as a mint state coin, can be significantly more desirable. These coins retain their original shine, sharp details, and clean surfaces, making them attractive to collectors who specialize in modern Lincoln cents. Now here is where things start to get really interesting. Some 1990 pennies were struck with minting errors, and these are the ones that can turn an ordinary coin into something far more valuable. One of the most talked about possibilities is the double die error, where certain parts of the design appear slightly duplicated. This can sometimes be seen in the lettering of Liberty or the date, 1990. To the untrained eye, it might look like a minor blur, but to collectors, it can be a sign of rarity. There are also off-center strikes, where the coin was not properly aligned during the minting process. This causes part of the design to be missing or shifted, creating a visually unusual coin that stands out immediately from normal examples. Another type of error is the struck through error, where foreign material interferes with the minting process, leaving unusual marks or textures on the surface of the coin. If you are thinking that these sound like small details, you are absolutely right. But in coin collecting, small details are everything. A difference that most people would never notice can completely change how a coin is classified and how much interest it receives from collectors. Another important factor is the mint mark itself. The 1990 pennies, minted in Denver, are especially common, but even within this large production run, certain coins were struck with better quality than others. Sometimes collectors focus on coins with strong strikes, meaning all the design details are sharp and fully visible. Weakly struck coins, where details appear faded or incomplete, are less desirable unless they are part of a recognized error type. The copper-coated zinc composition of the 1990 penny also plays a role in its long-term condition. Over time, some coins develop discoloration, spotting, or corrosion due to environmental exposure. Coins that have been carefully stored away from moisture and air tend to hold their original appearance much better, which increases their appeal to collectors. Now imagine going through an old collection and finding a 1990 penny that looks slightly different from the rest. Maybe the lettering appears a bit unusual. Maybe the surface has an unexpected shine. Or maybe the coin simply looks far too clean and sharp for its age. These are the moments where collectors pay close attention, because sometimes the smallest clue leads to something much more valuable. In some cases, 1990 penny error coins and high-grade examples have attracted strong interest in collector markets, especially when they are professionally graded and certified. While most remain common, the rare standout pieces can generate competitive attention because collectors are always searching for better quality or unusual examples to complete their sets. If you have this coin, you are now in the position of someone who knows what most people don't. You are no longer just looking at a penny. You are looking at a potential piece of numismatic history hiding in plain sight. And that is what makes coins like this so fascinating. They are still circulating. They are still being found. And they are still surprising people who take the time to look closer. The truth is, most valuable discoveries in coin collecting do not come from obvious places. They come from ordinary moments, checking spare change, sorting old jars, or revisiting forgotten boxes. And sometimes, what starts as a simple 1990 penny can turn into a discovery that completely changes the way someone sees everyday money. So if you have this coin, don't rush past it. Take a moment. Look at it carefully. Because in the world of coins, the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is often hidden in details so small that most people never notice them at all. So now you know the full story behind the 1991 penny, a coin that most people will never think twice about, yet one that quietly carries the potential to surprise anyone willing to take a closer look. What seems like ordinary pocket change could actually be hiding details that only collectors truly understand. And that is exactly why these small coins continue to attract so much attention even decades after they were first minted. If you enjoyed this deep dive, remember this is just one example. There are many more pennies out there with hidden variations, mint errors, and unique conditions that could completely change their value. The key is simple. Never ignore the small details, because in the world of coins, the smallest difference can sometimes mean the biggest discovery. And who knows, the next time you check your change, you might just find something that everyone else overlooked, but you didn't.